Hello and welcome to another episode of today's GK. Let's begin with the practice question of the last segment. Consider the following statements regarding mutation. When a virus replicates, it always produces an exact copy of itself. Viruses with new mutations are sometimes called variants. All variants are strains, but not all strains are variants. We have to select the correct statement or statements. Only the second is correct. B is the correct answer. The WHO has flagged the emergence of a new variant of SARS-CoV-2 virus, the XE recombinant. When a virus replicates, it doesn't always manage to produce an exact copy of itself. This means that over time, the virus may start to differ slightly in terms of its genetic sequences. Any changes to the viral genetic sequence during the process is known as mutation. Viruses with new mutations are sometimes called variants. Variants can differ by one or multiple mutations. When a new variant has different functional properties to the original virus and becomes established in a population, it is sometimes referred to as a new strain of the virus. All strains are variants, but not all variants are strains. Consider the following statements regarding current account deficit. Current account records exports and imports in goods and services only. CAD is measured as a percentage of gross domestic product. We have to select the correct statement or statements. Only the second is correct. B is the correct answer. India's trade deficit rose by 87.5% to a record rupees 192 billion in 21-22 from rupees 102 billion in the previous financial year. This increase was primarily on account of the sharp increase in petroleum imports due to the surge in global crude oil prices. The current account records exports and imports in goods and services and transfer payments. It represents a country's transactions with the rest of the world and, like the capital account, is a component of a country's balance of payments. There is a deficit in current account if the value of the goods and services imported exceeds the value of those exported. It is measured as a percentage of gross domestic product. The formula for calculating current account balance is current account balance is equals to trade gap plus net current transfers plus net income abroad. Trade gap is equals to exports minus imports. Consider the following statements regarding near field communication technology. NFC transmits data through electromagnetic radio fields. NFC enabled devices must be either physically touching or with few centimeters away from each other for data transfer to occur. As we have to select the correct answer, both are correct. C is the correct answer. Google Pay has recently launched a new feature in India, Tap to Pay for UPI in collaboration with Pine Labs. The feature makes use of near-field communication technology. NFC is a short-range wireless connectivity technology, allowing NFC-enabled devices to communicate with each other and transfer information quickly and easily with a single touch. The transmission of the data through electromagnetic radio fields occur to enable communication between two devices. Both devices must contain NFC chips, as transactions take place within a very short distance, and devices must be either physically touching or within a few centimeters from each other for data transfer to occur. Air quality index tracks which of the following air pollutants: carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxides, aerosols. As we have to select the correct ones, all are correct. D is the correct answer. Almost the entire global population breathes air that exceeds WHO's air quality limits and threatens its health, according to the 2022 update to the World Health Organization's air quality database, and the findings have prompted WHO to highlight the importance of curbing fossil fuel use and taking other tangible steps to reduce air pollution. So, air quality is measured with air quality index or AQI, which works like a thermometer that runs from 0 to 500 degrees. However, instead of showing changes in temperature, it is a way of showing changes in the amount of pollution in air. It tracks 5 major air pollutants: ground level ozone, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, airborne particles or aerosols. Which of the following countries have a border with Hungary? Poland, Austria, Bulgaria, Belarus. The correct answer is only Austria. B is the correct answer. Prime Minister Viktor Orban's fourth term victory threatens to erode democracy further in Hungary, but he needs to tread a careful path with Brussels to secure more much needed funds that are from European Union. Hungary shares a border with Austria to the west, Serbia, Croatia and Slovenia to the south and southwest, Romania to the southeast, Ukraine to the northeast and Slovakia to the north. Moving on, consider the following statements regarding fundamental duties. The idea of fundamental duties is inspired by the Constitution of America. The fundamental duties were added to the Constitution of India on the recommendations of Financing Committee, as we have to select the correct statement. Only the second is correct. B is the correct answer. The Supreme Court cannot direct Parliament to enact laws for enforcing fundamental duties enshrined in the Constitution, as the Attorney General says. Fundamental duties are specified under Article 51A, Part 4A of the Constitution, and they strive to uphold the country's ideals and contribute to its growth and betterment. The idea of fundamental duties is inspired by the Constitution of Russia, erstwhile Soviet Union, and they were incorporated in Part 4A of the Constitution by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976 on the recommendation of the Financing Committee. Originally 10 in number, one more duty was added through the 86th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2002. Like DPSP, these are non-justiciable in nature. With respect to IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, we have to consider the following statements. It was set up in 1988 by the World Meteorological Organization and the United Nations Development Programme. It publishes assessment reports every few years by conducting scientific research itself. We have to select the not correct statement. Both are not correct. C is the correct answer. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change delivered a dire assessment and warning in its latest report released on April 4. It is a United Nations body. It assesses the science related to climate change. It was set up in 1988 by WMO, World Meteorological Organization, and United Nations Environment Programme. The main activity is to prepare assessment reports, special reports, and methodology reports, assessing the state of knowledge of climate change. The IPCC doesn't itself engage in scientific research. Instead, it asks scientists from around the world to go through all the relevant scientific literature related to climate change and draw up the logical conclusion. The novel The Hunchback of Notre-Dame has been authored by. The correct answer is Victor Hugo. Option A is correct. Almost 3 years after the devastating fire, time, pressure, and quarrels complicate the reconstruction of Notre-Dame Cathedral in Paris. The Paris Cathedral is known worldwide, and the landmark has an enormous cultural importance. French novelist Victor Hugo immortalized the magnificent church in his 1831 novel, The Hunchback of Notre-Dame. The Austrian composer Franz Schmidt wrote the romantic opera Notre-Dame based on Hugo's novel, and the book has been adapted for film several times since. Napoleon Bonaparte, like the English King Henry VI before him, was crowned regent of all France in the Gothic church. The cathedral, built from 1163 to 1345, remains one of the most important symbols of French cultural identity. With respect to the Stand Up India scheme, consider the following statements. It facilitates loans to scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and women borrowers. The loan amount could be between 10 lakh to 1 crore rupees. The scheme has completed 6 years recently. As we have to select the correct statement or statements, all are correct. D is the correct answer. The 6th anniversary of Stand Up India scheme is being celebrated today. The scheme was launched on 5th April 2016, facilitating loans to scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and women borrowers. The setup should be a greenfield enterprise in manufacturing services or trading sector. The objective of the Stand Up India scheme is to facilitate loans between 10 lakh to 1 crore rupees. In 2019-2020, the scheme was extended till 2025. With respect to the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, consider the following statements. It is a statutory body under the administrative control of Ministry of Women and Child Development. It was set up in 2005. We have to select the correct statement. Only the first is correct. A is the correct answer. The National Commission for Protection of Child Rights has sought an explanation from NCERT on inclusion of a story by activist Harsh Mandir. It was set up in March 2007 under Commission for Protection of Child Rights Act 2005. It is a statutory body under the administrative control of Ministry of Women and Child Development. It ensures that all laws, policies, programs, and administrative mechanisms are in consonance with child rights perspective as enshrined in the Constitution of India. It also enforces the UN Convention on the Rights of Child. The child is defined as a person in the 0 to 18 years age group. Consider the following statements with respect to Criminal Procedure Bill. It seeks to replace the Identification of Prisoners Act of 1920. It allows police and prison authorities to legally collect, store, and analyze retina and iris scans of those convicted. We have to select the correct statement. Both are correct. C is the correct answer. The Lok Sabha on Monday passed the Criminal Procedure Bill by a voice vote. It seeks to replace the Identification of Prisoners Act of 1920. It allows police and prison authorities to legally collect, store, and analyze physical and biological samples, including retina and iris scans of those convicted. The record of measurements will be retained for a period of 75 years from the date of collection. It proposes a legal collection of behavioral attributes, including handwriting, signatures, or any other examination referred under Section 53 or Section 53A of CRPC. If there is any resistance from the convicts to taking measurements of them, it will be termed as an offence under Section 186 of the IPC, leading to a jail term of 3 months or a fine of ₹500 or both. Consider the following statements. National Maritime Day is celebrated to commemorate the maiden voyage of the first Indian flag merchant vessel SS Loyalty from Mumbai to London. Major and minor ports are a part of the Union list. Each major port is governed by a board of trustees appointed by the Government of India. We have to select the correct statement. So that's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another segment. Until then, stay updated and thank you so much for watching.